ideas. This is who I am. And it's like, okay, you do you, man. But when life requires something different of you, well, then you're done, you know? And I've been a million things in this world. I'll be a million more, but I'm just a kid kicking the damn bowl, trying to make it in the big bad world. It is what it is, man.
Well, and then what's the trick? What's the trick to making it so fluid? So, that's a hard thing, right?
No, it's not. What's hard is when you make an identity, when you make a situation, when you make an environment real, that's what's hard, right? It's durable, right? This paper is real. It's like, okay, that's what you want to stake your claim on, but nothing in the universe says that that's true. It's all bullshit. There's nothing that makes that true. And so if you start your premise with the things you see are the obverse, right? So think about Kabbalists. You've studied Kabbalah a little bit at least? Okay. So you got your supernal triad up top, right? And if you trace the Sephra, it makes an upward facing triangle. But then if you go below that, from Chesed, Gabura to Tiferet, that's a downward facing triangle. Then you go from Chod, Nesak, and Yesod, that's another downward. So the upward facing triangle goes up. That's the reality. And everything else goes down. It's the reflection of the reality. So it's always the obverse. It's always the inverse. So you look at the wall and you go, the wall is solid. No, in fact, that's the least solid thing. This open air space, this one is empty. No, in fact, that's the least empty thing. You see, it's always the obverse. When you're brushing your teeth, you think, I'm me, that's the reflection. No. Sorry, you're the reflection. It's true, it's just how it is. You're not the progenitor, you're the mirror. When you look in the mirror to brush your teeth, you're a mirror looking in a mirror. Hence, one downward facing triangle, another downward facing triangle. If you take two mirrors and put them together, it's just eternity. But it's eternity reflecting each self. So the reality is the upward facing triangle. So it's the obverse of everything. So if you hear, I'm no Crowley fan. I'm no advocate for, hey, Crowley's amazing. But I'm not also, as a Taoist, I have something called De, right? I see things as they are, and I don't ascribe, I don't like him. He makes me feel bad. Therefore, he must be bad. I don't do that shit. There are more sophisticated people, I'm sure, in their own way, that can do that. I simply see things and go, all right. Crowley once said something, and I was in a room full of people. Some really liked him, and others were like, he's the devil. And I was like, he's just a fucking dude, man. Calm down. But one of the things was what he said is that if you received messages from the other side of the triad, other side of the abyss, Da'ath, that it would be the mirror to what you see here. So if there was, I love you, at the Keter, by the time it got down to Malkuth, it would be, fuck you, I hate you. And the reason why is it's the polar opposite. So if you look at Keter as white, which is the inclusion of all colors, right? White is the inclusion of every color, undifferentiated. So red, orange, yellow, blue, green, indigo, and violet are all white when you put them together. Keter, undivided, unified, Tao, undifferentiated. What we say is not two. But if you look at Malkuth isn't a color. It's all the colors, but they're differentiated. There's black, there's orange, there's green, there's yellow. It's all of these colors. So we are the absolute inverse of reality.
Well, and that makes perfect sense because then if you look at the four trees, when you combine them together, Malkuth leads into Keter. So you're actually looking at the same thing mirrored.
That's right. Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's exactly the same thing, just its polar opposite. But remember, polarity is a form of a natural law. It's an immutable natural law. You must have polarity for anything to work. If I have a battery and I only have a positive but no negative, this shit ain't going to work. I don't care if it's charged. It's not going to work. For anything to work, there must be poles. That if you cannot have life without it. So which part of the battery is the battery? The positive or the negative? That's just retarded. It's all the battery. Ergo, it has to be constantly fluid.
So you're making it volatile. So that's the point of it, is to make everything volatile and nothing really fixed.
But is not the universe hence anyway? I mean, we see things in such a huge span of time that we go, well, the universe is pretty stable. Compared to what? Because I don't know about anything. The universe collapses, big bangs, and then collapses, and big bangs, and shit's constantly colliding, and it's going supernova, and going red giant, and going white dwarf, and pulsars. The Himalayas are the top of the earth, but they used to be the bottom of the fucking ocean. So explain to me what's not volatile. Just because you're like, well, I could look at a mountain, it's been there forever. No, it ain't. Just compared to your blink of a, fruit fly's life. But do you want to see reality and keep the real perspective? Or do you want to be like, no, Kanye West said this on tweet today and it made me so sad. It's the most retarded thing I've ever heard in my life. And growing up with monks, I saw this in my day as growing up, there was this woman named Madonna, right? And oh my God, she's making these videos with black men and kissing them. Oh my God. It's like, I didn't get it then. I'm from San Francisco, so you can't shock me with social, aberrance or whatever. It's just like, okay, people just are weird. Fuck, that's stupid. That's no big deal. But yeah, I saw people react to it. Now they don't care. Now they pray for those days. So it's always volatile because humans are fickle, they forget, and they're dumb.
Well, it seems like people want to make the existential orderly, but make the cultural volatile. So it's like, no matter what, if you can't find volatile anywhere, you will bring it into one thing, whether it's the political regime or culture.
You have to. Yeah. Yeah, but you have to. Because, right, so humans always do the opposite of reality because we do the opposite, right? When you look at a mirror, you say, this is my right side. But you look in the mirror, it looks like your left side. Because if you're looking at a person, that's their left side. But if you look at yourself, it's your right side. And our brain doesn't make that connection. Our brain doesn't do it. We go, oh, yeah. So if you take a picture of yourself, let's say, with your phone, and then you look at the picture, holy fuck, it turns out the way people are seeing you, but that's not the way you're seeing you. So you're like, whoa, that's crazy. And you don't like it. You don't like the way your voice sounds. Because you hear my voice through conduction of air, but you hear your own voice through the conduction of bone. There's a test doctors do with, it's like a tuning fork. They put the tuning fork next to your ear. Can you hear that? And they put the tuning fork at the mastoid process here. Can you test? It's called the Rinne and Weber test to see, do you have actual hearing in both the conduction of air and bone? It's a test. It's a normal medical exam. When I was in med school, we learned how to test people like that. And people are exactly the same way. They think, that's not what I sound like. No, that's not what you sound like through conduction of bone. But you have no clue that you don't sound like that in conduction of air. You just have no clue. And so we just walk around going, I know what I sound like. I'm with me all day. No, you're not. You're not. And 90% of the shit that's in your head, right? It's like, listen to Trey Parker or Matt Stone and listen to them talk, and then don't see a South Park character in your head. You can't. Because we get these images. We fill in the world around us, but it's not how reality is. As a Taoist, I care about one thing. The way. How does it work? What is really going on? Some people think Taoism is this uber mystical thing. Well, yeah, it is, but it's not mystical in some arbitrary way. It's literally everything how it works. Now, I was reading a science journal not too long back, and there was some comments on the site, and one of the guys was like, well, people are always saying things like, well, we really don't know everything in science, but we know most things. I'm like, you have to be the dumbest monkey that ever walked out of the Sahara when it was obviously not when it's sand, when it was rainforest stuff. You have to be the dumbest monkey that ever lived to believe we even know. I was explaining this to my 8-year-old. I said, we have an earth, and if I say you take a pie, you cut it into 3 equal parts, 2 of those parts represent our ocean, 1 represents the land. You take that ocean, you take 1 drop out of it, that's what we know. The rest, not a goddamn clue. We don't know. There's no way to know. I mean, you think, for example, you just say to yourself, I don't feel good today. I wonder what I ate last night. But 90% of the things that you eat won't affect you for maybe 5 days. There are some things like food poisoning, which is pretty quick. But for most things, whether it's an intolerance or an allergy, those are pretty quick. But we have things called the sensitivities. And so something you eat on Monday affects you Friday, but you'll be looking at Thursday. That's just something so rudimentary and preschool. How many forces of nature we don't know? We know gravity, we know electromagnetism, we know centrifugal force, we know about beta rays and alpha rays and gamma rays. We have ideas that these exist. And we just found gravitational waves not too long ago. But what don't we know? Well, we got the mass, and the mass are fucking made by the same retards who think you know things. What don't you know? Well, we do these equations, we can observe, and the math works out, so it must be real. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. It works, it's very utilitarian, and so therefore it's still the way. But if 96% of the universe is dark energy and dark matter, which we don't even know what the hell that means, we don't know how it works, we don't know what creates it, we don't know what, yeah, it's a placeholder like dark meaning we don't know. But for the most part, humans' intelligence kind of works like this. If I can't instrument it, it doesn't exist. And in utilitarian, that makes sense because it can't just be constantly postulated. I get it. But at the same time, you have to leave this placeholder for, I don't know shit. Start there. We don't know shit. We can say, it appears to be. We could say, well, we have kind of an idea, a working idea. But if you give those working idea with a kind of, if you give these prefaces, it will remind you and everybody around you, we are kind of talking out of our ass here. And so, and this is a premise because, okay, 6 million years ago, the Serengeti and all of the Saharan was rainforest, and we had a common ancestors with chimpanzees. This is irrefutable. And then as the rainforest and the forest starts to go, I'm sure it was Monsanto and all these other things because they were on it 6 million years ago. Might even been Dick Cheney. I don't know. You never know. You just don't know. The Earth was doing what the Earth does because, we had Pangea, then Super Pangea, and then 7 continents. But, the world doesn't change. Humans are the only thing fucking it up. So at some point, the forest starts diminishing, and as we're natural aces when it comes to being in the trees. But the trees are going away, so we don't have trees. So now we've got this, primate, simian, that's walking around going, hey, we have to change the way we do things. Are we still apex? Yeah. Are we still at the top of the ladder? Sure, doesn't change anything. But the ladder's going away. We got to find a new way. And it goes along, until eventually we start to learn how to throw shit. We start practicing throwing shit. And then eventually it works out, and then eventually, Australopithecus, kind of shows up, and from Australopithecus, then eventually Homo erectus shows up, and then eventually Homo sapiens shows up. That's not like, oh, that's that theory of evolution. It's still a theory. Of course, it's a theory. We don't know, but everything's a theory. I mean, shit. We still don't know anything about cancer or in terms of like. So it's a very natural thing, but you're never gonna hear people go, "Oh, cancer is natural." People are like, we need to find natural ways to cure cancer. No, cancer is natural. And cancer, if you're like, I only want to do natural things, good, fucking die, because that's natural. I mean, why wouldn't it be natural? We blink, we can't find any level for consciousness in us, and yet we're walking around just like ghost in the shell, and everybody's like, oh, that's just science. The difference between science and occult mysticism is just time. Because you and I are talking about mystical waves that you can't see over this, and you're recording it. We'd be burned as witches 1,000 years ago, bro. So it's a thing. Mm-hmm. No, you're stupid if you go to a mountain because you're literally of no use to yourself or anyone else. If you're following the Buddha or something and you want to do this mystical thing, but eventually you're gonna have to come off the mountain because let's say you get to the goal. Okay, great. Now what? Just stay in the mountain. No, you're literally stupid. You're worthless. You're just go kill yourself, man. There's no reason for you to be here. Get into it, man. People. I wanted to stay on a tree. There was an island in the South Pacific. I wanted to be on that island. It would be amazing. And I wanted to stay there. And then I was like, the Tao was like, no, bitch, you're not staying. I was like, God damn it. I found my bliss. Leave me alone. So, all right, bro. Well, let me know when you want to connect again and we'll do it.